Well, hello there. Good to see you, Viola, across the miles. And congratulations on the relaunch of your book, Who Makes the Bed? It's a brilliant contribution to the field of mental health, relationship issues, and I'm really excited to see that it was relaunched. I think just for the people who are watching this, it's important to get a background, a sense of who you are. I met you primarily through social media. I had known of you, and I kept seeing this gorgeous woman putting out these amazing messages into the world. And then finally, I had the opportunity to meet you in person in London, and it was all of my intuition about you was completely true. You're warm, you're gracious, you're incredibly bright. You have this incredible sense of charity and grace about you to bring healing and hope into a world that desperately needs it, particularly now. So I'm excited to be able to sit down with you and talk about your work. And I'd like to start just by asking, how did this work come to be?
Well, thank you so much, Paul. You're so kind and with so much grace. Our relationship had built up gently and slowly with love, even through the distance, and with a lot of respect. And I'm just enjoying everything we do together. And thank you for having this time for me here. So this book come together because I have had different difficulties in my life. We can talk about addiction. We can talk about several one, but one of the most severe one was relationship. Really, I could not stay in a relationship. Like I had one relationship at the beginning of my flourishing as a woman. I was 13, and it lasted like I call this first love. By the
Mm.
way, I connected with him recently,
Uh,
and it lasted like from 13 on and off, 14, 15 on and off, and we engaged maybe around 18, but then it had for me, because of again distance, kind of natural fading away. And then since that time until I met the one who's my lover and husband now, I was just couldn't stay. It's like at the first discussion or fight or something, I would feel kind of suffocated,
mm,
and it's not worth it, and become a very expert runner. And and like many of you that are listening to us tonight, today, is I would say I want a relationship, but I was also expert and picking the wrong one. Or I remember some why did you choose this one? But now we remember all these things with a lot of laughter and compassion. But in that time, of course, it's like all this contradiction in the being that I could not trade whatever it was my idea of freedom in a relationship,
mm,
even though I thought I wanted a relationship. So it took a long time for me to have, and it was through our profession, Paul, through psychotherapy and through breath work, that really I learned how to have a beautiful relationship with myself.
mm,
And that took a long time because I remember when one of my mentors and later on become my colleague and we will meet in different conferences, he asked me many years ago, will you marry yourself? And
mm.
the first thing I said, no, of course not. Like, oh, this is so complicated. My first answer was like, no way. But through the years, when he would meet me here or there, and one day, after I had really a lot of work and liberate and a lot of grief that was honored, and getting out of that sense of victimhood that I used to have. And one day I said, yes, of course I'll marry myself. Of course, fun, creative, compassionate, attractive, smart. And I think that was a key moment in my relationship with myself that opened for me the space so I can see the other, not to find the other. And for that, there is a chapter in this book called Let Love In. Let Love In. Because
Mm.
it's not about there is no people, it's letting the people in. And I think when I was around 40, I did that. I did. let love in.
Hmm. So really, I've read this book twice. I read it when you first gave it to me in London, and then I read it again in anticipation of the relaunch. And what struck me about it, how important it is, it's really a narrative. It's a story of finding love and having a sexually fulfilling life in middle age. And I think most women are culturalized to believe that they have an expiration date on them. And if once they hit a certain age, that finding love and have a sexually fulfilling life is just not available for them. And you've proven otherwise. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And so if you can distill it down into, say, just 3 words, like what's the recipe for that?
Yeah, I think I feel is self-acceptance with
Hmm.
what life bring us, is
So
self-acceptance,
acceptance.
self-worth, is knowing
Hmm.
who you are. And it's a lot of compassion for the changes. Like me, I have like 2 or 3 sizes more than I used to be. Uh, the curve have changed. That was out talking about other kind of laws that apply in our
Right.
bodies. But I will be 62 in March, and also um, I was hit in a very early age by. I was just married. I just start living together. I just was starting to flavor what is it, to have to really live in a situation of monogamy, enjoy everyday life when I was hit by what I call early menopause. It was so early for me. I
Hmm.
can tell you here, I thought I was pregnant. You can have and imagine, yeah? You
Right.
can imagine how ignorant I was about the subject. And also body change, and I think because I was just so loved and I was in a situation of clarity that these hormonal changes didn't affect me that badly, but certainly it affect me. It affect my libido. It affect my need to sleep. I needed to sleep more. It affect my digestive system in a way. And
Hmm.
I remember one day I was crying, and I remember my Michael telling me, "Don't worry, darling, that will change." And I asked him, "When? How long it will take?" He said, "Well, I remember some of my friends, it took maybe 3 to 5 years." And I was like, "Oh, no." Well, it took a little bit longer, I can tell you, it's like to reestablish in a way how you can really set up and be with yourself in these different ways or different needs, and in all this time what I can tell you is I didn't abandon my lover. I could not be with him in the same way how I was before, but I didn't abandon him. So it's the time to create, to be very creative and create. I use the word strategy, my friend laugh about it, but different strategy, how we can accompany each other in a situation of health, or I guess I didn't have children, but during pregnancy, after pregnancy, or during menopausal time, or after an operation, or breaking bones. How is it that, and for me, this is what is intimacy. It's about this beautiful friendship that you say your truth with transparency, and you try not to hide, or don't exaggerate, or not to hide, and be as much as possible in your emotional honesty to share where you are in this moment, how you
Mm.
are. Because if not, the other one have no clue how they can give you a hand, how
Right.
they can help you, how they can hold you. So yeah, I went into that process with a lot of honesty and a lot of tears, and sometimes good sense of humor.
Hmm.
But yeah, came out of it in a very beautiful way. Yes.
And it sounds as though you've been able to make meaning out of it, right? That there's this very significant
Yes. Yeah.
developmental task that you had to meet and transcend. And so, for the women who are out there who are struggling with either premenopausal or menopausal or postmenopausal, what's the message? What's the takeaway for you? What was the life lesson that you learned from that experience?
Yes, a lot of time for yourself. You're always beautiful, really,
Amen.
really. I mean, this body is so amazing how the body go into changes, and by that time I also decided to stop coloring my hair. So it come a lot of changes. I remember once I was passing very quickly, and saw my image in the mirror. And for 1 second, I was saying, "Who's this one?" You know, because then I let my white hair to grow, though, so I cut it very short. I put some weight on, and not these brownish red hair, and I don't know how to tell you that. It was who's this one, but at the same time, it was with a little bit of a smile. Let's discover this one together.
Mm.
And yeah, I would say take your time, share. I always say to my darling women friend, please don't leave your pain and your trauma and your shocks alone. That's not good recipe for anybody. Share. Find somebody from your family group, your friend group that you could share with. They will not be professional at the beginning. It will be a little bit of what we call folk therapy. They will give you some advice here and there. But through that first sharing, you will be able to go and look for a professional who can help you in the process, depending what you're going through. And this is what I did. I went to one of my colleagues and teacher. I was also, imagine, I was newly married for first time, moved country, didn't speak the language, living with somebody who's not from my culture or language or generation.
Hmm.
And I was hit with these hormonal changes. So it was really tough in a way. If I would be the victim that I used to be before, definitely that was a good drama for soap opera. But because I was this new person that I take responsibility and I'm so curious about human behavior and body behavior and health, and I'm quite healthy. So I just start discovering and asking and looking for doctors, which is not easy when you change countries, and finding what are the vitamins and obey my body. Needed more sleep. For many years I managed with 4 or 5 hours. Now I needed 7 8 hours. Just listen and adapt and share. And I did go to therapy, and
Mhm.
that helped a lot. That helped me a lot to self-accept, learn, and expand and help others. Yes.
So it sounds to me it was a rebirth for you, that menopause was a rebirth, that you're able to rebirth yourself into another phase of your life, which is a wonderful message, because we think about it often as the end of something where it's really the beginning of a new phase, a new chapter in your life. And so I want to ask you, what makes a woman beautiful?
Herself. Herself.
Okay, you need to unpack that a little bit.
Like the way, what make us beautiful is our health, whatever health is. Like now I'm
Mhm.
having also some issues, and the acceptance and being in the present, like, and comfort. It's very important to be comfortable. Like, I think, personally, I think fashion is like just an idea to as a guideline, and later you create your own fashion, and you will learn or also go to consultant. Like, I work with color and style, to see which colors suit you the best. It doesn't cost so much to really be comfortable and have items that all suit each others.
Mhm.
And for me, in this age, very, very important to be comfortable. And but at the same time, I like beauty and I like fashion, and to be more or less aligned with what's going on. But I think it's not what we wear only, it's how we feel about ourselves. I used to have this client years ago, and I think you have many stories like this, Paul, because I love your book. I know I promised not to talk about your book today, but I can't not to talk about this book,
Thank you.
because really it's an amazing book. Anyway, so I had this client she was a Miss Country, ex-country. And as soon as she will enter, she will start crying and talking about how non-beautiful she is. And
Mm.
I would say she was stunning. I would every time I would see her, I would say, because she was so beautiful, amazing, naturally beautiful. And she would say, one day I said, but you're Miss so and so. And she said, no, that's because my father has a lot of influence. The one
Mm.
who was beautiful was my great auntie, who was so and so. Yeah, so if you don't change the way how you think about yourself, in the way how I work, we call the most negative thinking about the self is a personal law. And
Mm.
you follow that law, Doesn't matter what the words say about you. That's the law. As this girl, as this young woman who tell me, no, I become Miss. I win that contest because my father's influence. I
Right.
saw the contest. She really won because she was stunning and beautiful and so clever. And it took us time until she managed to accept herself. She had to accept her own beauty and stop comparing with others.
Amen.
So the only person we can compare with is the self, how we wear, how we want to be. So for me, no comparison. Nobody can
Right.
have my accent anyway. So it's about acceptance of the self and have setting up your dreams and what you want for yourself, and also what is it that you want to give is so important to serve and to give. And this combination is really will make you be beautiful because you're beautiful. Look at us today here. We are so beautiful.
Well, that's interesting. It gets to what you and Viola and I did another interview together where we talked about the imposter syndrome, where it's a phenomenon that affects women disproportionately to men. And so I encourage all the women who are watching this to Google imposter syndrome and maybe our surnames, and you can come up with the interviews. So of course now I have to answer because I want to be an equal opportunity interviewer. But what makes a man beautiful?
I think the same. I think men are, for example, I'm somebody who say to a man that he's beautiful, as I say to you. And usually they get a little bit nervous. They are not used to get that. I said such beautiful eyes. Or, I think what make a man beautiful is his manhood, his compassionate. And manhood for me means when really he has this, again, emotional honesty to be in touch with his power and at the same time with his vulnerability,
Hmm.
and knowing that he's the prince, he's the he's the priest, he's the prince, he's everything he can be in his different time, and there is space for everybody. I think a beautiful man is the man who know what is his place and what's the place of the other one, what's the place of the woman, how we can share power, how power is not something that it will finish, how we can share a space, how we can share authority. I think that make a man very beautiful, and a man who really follow his heart,
Hmm.
his beauty. I think life has been so hard on men. It has been very hard for women. I work with women, but so hard on men not to express their feeling, not to go and do what they want to do, to be for a long time sole provider because this is how it should be, etc. And
Hmm.
I think this era is beautiful for men. They can share to provide for the family together. They can share authority, power, vulnerability, space to cry and space to laugh. And I think this is beautiful and make men very beautiful. I'm married to a man who's now 73 years old and a half, and I just was telling him this morning he's been resting because of a little accident. I was
Hmm.
just looking at him, said, "Oh gosh, you're aging so beautifully. You look so nice because resting had make you really look so great." It's not about aging. He's not in his body, or me neither, how when we met or in our energy, but the process of aging is so,
Hmm.
the acceptance of it
Hmm.
and the beauty of it without
Yeah.
is surrendering without being conformed, is a fine line. There is a lot to do there.
Well, it's nice to know that we can be beautiful at every age, right? It's just different. That the beauty that we manifest in our 20s is different than the beauty that we manifest in our 60s. You're an expert in intimacy. That's developing intimacy in relationships, and I want to take your expertise and apply it sort of on a more macro global level. We're living very troubled times. We have an enormous amount of division through COVID. We have an extraordinary amount of mental health issues, domestic violence issues that have arisen as a result of people being locked down and having their liberties or their freedoms restricted. In America, in particular, where I am right now, we are under siege by radicalism. Really, that's causing an enormous amount of division in our country. So, what lessons in intimacy can you advise us as human beings who are occupying a smaller and smaller planet? Um, how can we manifest intimacy on a more global level based upon your experience and your expertise.
Yeah, with being truthful and with respecting your individuality. We can love each other a lot. I say from my own experience, love is not enough.
Mm.
We need to create communication skill, really effective, efficient, organic, with certain rhythm that also can evolve and change, and also have whatever for you is a healthy sexuality, sharing values, sharing duties. Uh, we can be very different in a relationship, but how is it to respect the individuality and at the same time respect the link and the bond of a relationship? And for me, conscious relationship is that I want for him what I want for myself. He
Mm.
has the right, she has the right, all the right that I have. Therefore, in this time that is so complicated and difficult, and some of us we live in a very, very small places.
Mm.
Some of us we have certain little gardens, some they don't have. So how is it that with your vulnerability and your honesty and transparency, to be reliable to yourself, to be able to express your need of little space of individuality, that doesn't mean that you don't love the other one. That space could be maybe half an hour in the morning. That is important for you after the shower or meditation or whatever, in the balcony, looking outside, whatever is. I think it's very important to have a space for yourself. And the other thing is to be able to say no and to set boundaries. And of course, and we, Paul and me, we know it very well, that we spend maybe a whole day in session listening, and then we go to a space to home and we just want
Mm.
5 minutes of silence, and we have our beloved one there just wanting to tell us something because we've been away in the other room the whole day, and you think, oh, just I needed 5 minutes, but you become very wise in asking these 5 minutes or not. So I think if you set boundary on times, those boundaries are not that harsh. When you say no, I can't, no, I don't, no, I will not. That is not that. You're not saying no, I don't love you. You're saying no, I will not do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I always love to say these 4 steps of the nonviolent communication with Mr. Rosenberg, and there is a lot about him in online. And he said these 4 steps. First, I observe what happened. I observe from a distance. I feel what happened, make me feel like I need. But the 4th step is what is your specific requirement,
Mm.
because what you feel and what you need could be so vast. I feel hurt, I need respect. The other one will say, I respect you, I love you. But when you really express your specific requirement, you will help the other, you will help your companion, she or he, to understand what is it that you really, really require. And then
Mm.
you can talk about it. And I think that makes the situation much easier.
Beautiful. So I could talk to you all day, and sometimes I do actually. I want to sum it up by just asking you, we're entering a new year. We're entering a new phase in sort of planetary alignment, and we're entering the age of Aquarius, which I'm very excited about. But what do you think the world needs right now to heal?
Well, I have to confess that sometimes I get so angry with some news. I get so hurt, like so hurt about some news to hear, like health worker who get foreigner health worker who get COVID in a country while they were doing their service as doctor and nurses. They are sent back to their country where they've been away for 8 years, 5 years. When I hear things like this, I get like, oh, I get it like personal. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I think since I know myself, I have a huge hope in humanity. I become psychotherapist because I'm fascinated by human behavior. I do have hope in our humanity. And I think what you're doing, what I'm doing, And Paolo is behind the screen supporting us here, and he does beautiful work. And our community and where we met in ICAT, and there's so many people doing beautiful things that I think together we're gonna manage, because together is better. We're gonna manage to make whatever shift we can. Maybe is millimetric, maybe we want to do something very big and we can manage a little bit. But I'm very involved nowadays in what is caring economy. I'm creating something called caring alliances, and what you and me we do is about how to care for each other to be us in better situation. How is it that I care about you for your well-being, so also I will be in a better situation? And what is caring, and keep focusing in education and in health and caring about each other. And I think this is where is the line where I want to continue going.
Beautiful. So it's a calibration of self and others, and sort of asking the question, how can the well-being of self meet and integrate with the well-being of others, which is a beautiful way to enter into 2021. So, all right, again, congratulations on the relaunch of the book. It's an extraordinary contribution to the field. You can find it. I found it on Amazon. Which where else can we get it, Viola?
Yes, for now, get it now in Amazon, and for another 8 or 10 hours, you will get it in this very special price of some cents, 99 cents, I think. Very a special deal that the publisher did, and get it in Amazon, and soon it's going to be in the best libraries.
Barnes and Nobles, all the
and
international distribution, right?
Yeah, we're gonna have it. This is why I'm relaunching with a publisher, because I really want to go to a library and find it there. And you know how beautiful is this, Paul, as an author. And also the Spanish version is out and have the same promotion today. Quien hace, la cama. And also we have a big support from the Spanish publisher too. So I'm so pleased and thankful for this opportunity. And I know there is so many amazing authors in the world that sometimes they didn't have the chance to express themselves. So I think Paul and me here, we are in your name acknowledging and thanking you all for having the space to write and to share with you. And I want to tell you all, go for it. Write, express, tell your story, and go for it.
Absolutely. Get it out there in the world. The world needs an enormous amount of healing and hope right now. So, all right, Viola, until I can hug you in person in London or Cyprus or Saudi Arabia.
We're going to the Fair Book in London, hopefully at the end of June. Huh?
Okay. All right. I'll meet you there. Okay. All right.
So much.
Peace and love to everybody.
Thank you, Paolo. Bye-bye.